Hello, 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 and welcome back to The Conversation Piece with your host, Akila. I remember in high school, in my world history honors class, we had to choose a historical topic of our choosing and write a paper proving our thesis. I remember the title to this day. I wrote in big black ink, one sentence. Africans voyaged across the Atlantic before Columbus. Nothing else. Just that one sentence. The teacher came around to our desk one by one and gave feedback. When she got to my desk, she read the one sentence and stared at it for, it seemed like, the longest time. So much so that I looked up at her and said, "What? What is the purpose of an empire? To expand. In order for this to happen, the following ingredients are needed: ambition, courage, vision, wisdom, and resources." The Great Mali Empire was one of the largest in the world at its peak and boasted and inhabited the city of Timbuktu, one of the greatest universities in the world that attracted intellectuals thirsting for knowledge. At the helm in the 1300s was a visionary who turned his view westward and is said to have landed in the Americas 180 years before Christopher Columbus. MANSA ABUBAKARI II. And waiting in the wings was Mansa Musa, the richest man to have ever walked on Earth. The university in Timbuktu contributed to enlightenment of Islamic and academic study, and Muslim geographers concluded that the Earth was in fact not flat, and that the Atlantic Ocean was not the edge of the world, and you would not fall off and get swallowed up by some sea creature. ABUBAKARI II commissioned for the building of ships to test and hopefully fulfill his vision of westward exploration and expansion. Al-Umari transcribed a story that was told to him by Mansa Musa in 1324. The monarch who preceded me would not believe that it was impossible to discover the limits of the neighboring sea. He wished to know. He persisted in his plan. He caused the equipping of 200 ships and filled them with men, and each number that was filled with gold, water, and food for 2 years. He said to his commanders, "Do not return until you have reached the end of the ocean, or when you have exhausted your food and water." Legend has it that only one ship returned. The captain relayed how the others got lost in the currents and disappeared. Undeterred, ABUBAKARI II then commissioned the building of 2,000 ships. This time, he would voyage himself. He passed the throne to Musa, stating that if he did not return, the throne would be his. Musa now added the title of Mansa to his name and assumed the throne. The Mali Empire expanded from the Atlantic Ocean inland to Timbuktu and covered parts of the Sahara Desert. The Mali Empire rivaled in size to the Roman Empire. Mansa Musa was known for his generosity. A devout Muslim, in 1324, he set off to make pilgrimage in Mecca and brought along with him scores of soldiers, slaves, silk, and most importantly, gold. This of course had people talking, like Cairo's ruler, Al-Malik al-Nasir, who requested to meet with Musa. Musa initially declined, but al-Nasir insisted. After a contentious exchange, the two found common ground. After all, it was hard to get to Saudi Arabia if he did not pass through Cairo. Musa was popular wherever he went, and his generosity knew no bounds. Gold at the time in Egypt was scarce, but he gave out so much of it, it actually crippled the economy and depreciated in value. Perry himself heaped praise upon Henson with these words, "I can't make it there without him." Remember those words. Arctic conditions are not for the faint of heart, as temperatures fall drastically. It was a race against time, and elements as hazards of leads occur. This is a cracking and drifting of ice that forms holes of open, freezing water. The team decided to strategically drop off supplies and return to the ship as teams would push their way towards their destination, the North Pole. When the time came for Perry and Henson to make their push, they had 3 indigenous Inuits accompany them. They made sure that their push was aggressive as to not fall through any ice cracks. At one point in their push, Henson was the front sledgeman and was 50 yards ahead of Perry, but conditions made them make camp for that night. The following day, Perry took measurements of the location using the sun while it was at high noon. They did it. They reached the North Pole, but who would receive credit? Who got there first? Henson was quoted as stating the following, quote, "I was in the lead that overshot the mark by a couple of miles. We went back then, and I could see that my footprints were the first at that spot." End quote. He also stated, "From the time we knew we were at the pole, Commander Perry scarcely spoke to me. It nearly broke my heart that he would rise in the morning and slip away on a homeward trail without rapping on the ice for me, as was the established custom." A lifetime of partnership cracked over distance, yards, times, hours. Whatever the measurement, that was a tremendous feat by Henson and Perry, and it would seem logical that both would receive credit. But
this is America.
The climate in the country did not give a black man credit for this feat. Perry was rewarded as the first man to set foot on the North Pole. Henson, a mere companion. The next 8 years saw them searching the southwest US and Mexico, and in this time, Esteban learned the various and diverse languages of the indigenous people. They found themselves upon a Spanish settled community near Culiacan, Sinaloa, and the stories from the community told of the riches in the north in a territory called Tierra Nueva. None of the 3 Spaniards wanted to travel north, and among the community was a viceroy of New Spain, Antonio de Mendoza. The renters, still wanting to cash in on riches, sold Esteban to Mendoza. Mendoza appointed Esteban on a mission due to his language ability and sent him north on a recon mission. But, being a slave, he could not lead the expedition. Enter one Franciscan priest by the name of Marcos de Niza. Marcos de Niza went along with him looking for the 7 cities of Cibola. It is reported that Esteban and Marco did not get along. Esteban's ability to communicate with the locals perhaps rubbed Marcos the wrong way, as Esteban was shown more respect. Within reach of Tierra Nueva, because of his ability to communicate, Esteban was sent ahead with Sonoran scouts to see what they could learn from the natives. Before he went, he and Marcos designed a signal to indicate how valuable the wealth would be via cross size. If a small cross was sent back, the riches were low. A large cross meant substantial wealth was found. Marcos got his answer in the size of a cross, the size of a human man. Pedro Alonso Nino was of mixed heritage, African and Spaniard. He was also called El Negro. He was with Columbus on his voyages to America. Wanting to acquire some riches for himself, and why not, everyone else was doing it, he set out to explore the West Indies on his own. But there were some expectations. He had to avoid land already founded, quote-unquote, by Columbus. Not to be petty, I am using the word founded loosely. It's kind of hard to claim land that already have people there, but I digress. The Council of Castile wanted their explorers to seek out new countries, but Pedro also had to agree to pay the Spanish crown 20% of the profits. When he set sail in 1499, he was joined by brothers Luis and Cristobal de la Guerra. There go them R's again. Them R's. Their travels saw them trading trinkets of little value in exchange for pearls before they happened upon salt mines in Punta Araya, immediately striking them wealth. He returned to Spain a few months later, a wealthier man than he left, but upon his return, he and the brothers found themselves in trouble with the crown. As King Ferdinand II accused him of theft, he thought Pedro was cheating him out of his 20%. The Jim Crow laws of the South would not deter Bessie from reaching the apex of her dreams. In 1915, millions of African Americans partook in the Great Migration, leaving the South and heading north. Coleman was amongst them. But moving to Chicago didn't satisfy her. Unfortunately for her, she lived in a nation of no Negro can do that. She had the ultimate clapback. Watch me soar. Her niece Gigi stated, quote, she believed in herself and her determination to follow her dreams. To become an aviator was not to be deterred. She understood the importance of being educated. Her brothers, who were in World War II as Army veterans, told her that women were flying airplanes in France. So, off to France she went. But in Paris, she found the door closed to women. That didn't stop her. She headed north of France to a school operated by the Cauldron brothers, considered the best flying school at that time. She trained in Germany with former World War I flying aces, learning death-defying mid-air tricks. This paid off once she returned to America, and she lit the skies on fire. Despite the still present segregation laws prevailing throughout society, Bessie was still considered a gem, a marvel of determination and perseverance. Her audiences at one point had segregated interests, and Bessie used her voice and talent to combat the Jim Crow laws. She refused to perform until black and whites used the same entrance. She came as advertised. See this daredevil and her hair-raising stunts. Was this foreshadowing? Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Conversation Piece Podcast. I am your humble host, Akila, requesting that you join me again. So, until then, be safe, love, and value yourself so that you can love and value others. I bid you adieu with the greeting, Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you.